I'm Angela Harris, 33 years old, and I'm still reeling from what happened at our family dinner last month in Tucson, Arizona. My father stood up, clinked his glass, and announced he was giving my apartment my dream home, where I poured $70,000 of my own money into making it mine to my older sister and her fiance after their wedding. He said it so casually, like it was just another gift, as if I hadn't spent years saving and designing every inch of that space. My mother nodded along, smiling, while my sister's fiance clapped like it was a done deal. My sister just smirked already, picturing herself moving in. My stomach dropped. I'd turned a plain apartment in Sam Hughes into a modern haven with custom furniture, smart lighting, and a cozy patio I built myself. And now, without even asking me, they decided it was hers. I gripped my fork, heart pounding, and said, "That's my home. You can't just give it away." My father waved me off. "Don't make a scene, Angela." But my sister's next text hit hard: "Start packing. We need it empty by next week." That's when I knew I'd turn the tables with a move they'd never expect. Want to know how far this drama goes? Like, subscribe, and share your own family betrayal stories in the comments. I'm dying to hear them. 4 years ago, I made the biggest decision of my life, buying my apartment in Tucson's Sam Hughes neighborhood. I was 29, a communications specialist grinding through freelance gigs and a part-time agency job, saving every penny to escape the rental trap. Tucson's market wasn't cheap, but I found a modest one-bedroom, nothing fancy, just a blank canvas with outdated fixtures and faded walls. It cost every dime I had for the down payment, years of skipped vacations, late nights editing press releases, and saying no to dinners out. That apartment became my proof I could build something without anyone's help, especially not my family's. I poured $70,000 into making it mine, every cent earned through my own sweat. Over 8 months, I transformed the place: custom bookshelves for my novels, a sleek entertainment system with surround sound, and a small patio I designed with a pergola and string lights for quiet evenings. The kitchen got a modern overhaul: new cabinets, quartz countertops, and a smart fridge I programmed myself, costing $12,000. I swapped old carpet for bamboo flooring, another $15,000, and added smart lighting throughout, controlled by my phone, for $8,000. The rest went to paint, curtains, and furniture I picked to feel like me: clean, modern, warm. My hands got rough from sanding wood, and I learned to haggle with contractors. That apartment wasn't just a home, it was my victory, a space no one could take credit for. My family, though, never saw it that way. My older sister, Brittany Phillips, 36 now, was always the golden child. When we were kids, she got new clothes while I wore her hand-me-downs. Her dance recitals trumped my debate team meets, and for her 18th birthday, my parents bought her a shiny SUV. I took the bus until I was 22, saving for a beat-up sedan. My father would brag about Brittany's C+ report cards like they were gold, but my straight A's barely got a nod. "Expected, Angela. You're the smart one." My mother rearranged family trips around Brittany's whims, leaving my schedule as an afterthought. I was the reliable one, the one who didn't need attention, or so they thought. I pushed through, building my career in communications, landing bigger clients, and finally buying that apartment. I kept ties with my family: out-of-duty monthly dinners, holiday gatherings, the occasional phone call. I gave my mother a spare key, thinking it was practical for emergencies, like if I got locked out or needed someone to check the place while I was on a work trip. Big mistake, I'd realize later. Brittany started dating her fiance, Kyle Perry, a real estate agent, 3 years ago. He came from money, always pushing her toward a flashier lifestyle: designer bags, a leased luxury car, talk of upscale neighborhoods they couldn't afford on his commissions alone. During visits, Brittany's eyes lingered on my apartment. She'd comment on the bamboo floors, asking what they cost, or compliment the smart lighting in a way that felt like she was sizing it up. Kyle was worse over dinner. Once he said my place would be perfect for a couple starting out, his tone too casual to be innocent. I brushed it off, hoping to keep the peace, maybe even build a better bond with Brittany someday. But deep down, I knew better. The signs were there, like when my neighbor mentioned hearing Brittany and Kyle talking about their new place during a visit while I was at work. It didn't hit me then, but it should have. 6 months ago, I started dating my boyfriend, a steady presence who listened when I vented about my family's favoritism. As a software engineer, he got what it meant to work hard for something, texting me encouragement when I doubted myself. My best friend, Lindsay Morgan, was another lifeline, always ready to call out my family's nonsense. When Brittany's wedding plans ramped up, the invitations arrived fancy embossed for a family dinner at a sleek Tucson restaurant to celebrate her engagement. I didn't think much of it, just picked out a gift and planned to show up, not suspecting the bomb my father would drop. The invitation to the family dinner came in a glossy envelope, gold lettering screaming Brittany's taste. It was just a routine gathering, or so I thought, at a sleek Tucson restaurant with polished wood tables and soft, dim lighting, the kind of place my sister loved to flaunt. I'd been to dozens of these dinners, forcing smiles through my family's usual dismissal of me. I dressed up, grabbed a bottle of wine as a polite gesture, and drove to the restaurant, my mind still on Brittany's lingering looks at my apartment and Kyle's hints about wanting a place like mine. I brushed off the unease, hoping for a normal evening, maybe a chance to feel like I belonged. We were halfway through dinner, steak and roasted vegetables, the clink of glasses filling the air, when my father stood up, his face beaming with a pride I rarely saw directed at me. He raised his glass, and the table fell silent. My mother, Brittany, Kyle, and a few aunts and uncles. "I have something important to share," he said, his voice steady, commanding attention. "Brittany's getting married soon, and she and Kyle deserve a strong start. So after their wedding, we're giving them Angela's apartment in Sam Hughes. It's the perfect home for them to build their future." My heart stopped. The words landed like a slap, sharp and cold. My apartment, the one I'd poured $70,000 and years of my life into, was being given away like it was nothing. My mother nodded, her smile warm, as if this was a generous gift. Brittany leaned against Kyle, her lips curling into a smug grin, like she'd been waiting for this moment. Kyle raised his glass, saying, "That's amazing. Thank you," as if I wasn't sitting right there, my hands gripping the table. The aunts and uncles murmured approval, completely clueless about the betrayal unfolding. I set my glass down, my pulse racing, and forced my voice to stay calm. "Dad, that's my home. I bought it. I made it what it is. You can't just give it away." My father's smile faded and he waved a hand, his tone dismissive. "Angela, don't make this difficult. Your sister needs a stable home for her marriage. You're doing fine, you'll figure something out." My mother's eyes narrowed, her voice cutting. "It's for Brittany's future, Angela. Be reasonable." Brittany didn't meet my gaze, just twirled her fork, while Kyle added, "It's ideal for us, Angela. You'll find another place." My face burned, years of being pushed aside rushing back every time my needs were ignored for Brittany's wants. "Figure something out," I said, my voice rising, staring at my father. "I spent my savings, my time, my energy on that apartment. It's mine, not yours to give." My father leaned forward, his jaw tight. "We'll discuss this later, Angela. Don't ruin the evening." Brittany muttered just loud enough for me to hear, "You always have to make a scene." I couldn't eat after that. The table moved on, chatting about Brittany's wedding plans, while I sat there, my mind spinning. My aunts and uncles laughed, oblivious, as if my life hadn't just been upended. I excused myself, mumbling about a work call, and left early, my hands shaking as I drove home. Standing in my living room, I looked at the bamboo floors I'd installed, the smart lights I'd wired, the patio I'd built from scratch. This was my sanctuary, my proof I didn't need them. They thought they could take it because Brittany was getting married. The next morning, my phone lit up with Brittany's text, "We need the apartment empty by next Friday. Start packing. Okay, thanks." The nerve of it, the casual assumption that I'd roll over, lit a fire in me. I called Sean, my boyfriend, who'd seen me through years of family drama. "Angela, they have no right," he said, his voice steady but angry. "That apartment is yours legally, completely. You need to push back." I nodded, staring at my phone, my resolve solidifying. I'd let their favoritism slide for too long, but this was different. This was my home, my stand. If they thought I'd let go without a fight, they were in for a shock. 3 days after that disastrous family dinner, I got a call from my neighbor, Mrs. Garcia, who lived across the hall in my Sam Hughes building. Angela, she said, her voice low. I saw your sister and her fiance in your apartment yesterday. They were measuring the living room, talking about furniture. I thought you'd want to know. My stomach churned. Brittany had a spare key, my mother had it for emergencies, and I'd never thought to take it back. I thanked Mrs. Garcia, hung up, and grabbed my keys, my hands shaking with a mix of anger and disbelief. When I got home, I noticed subtle signs: a coffee mug out of place on my kitchen counter, a scratch on the bamboo floor near the patio door, and my smart lighting system blinking like someone had fiddled with it. They'd been here in my space, treating it like it was already theirs. I called Sean, my boyfriend, barely keeping my voice steady. They broke into my apartment, Sean. Brittany and Kyle, they're planning to move in. Sean didn't hesitate. That's a line crossed, Angela. You need to act fast, get that key back, and talk to someone who knows property law. His words grounded me, cutting through the haze of betrayal. I texted Lindsay, my best friend, who was just as outraged. They're acting like you don't exist, she said over the phone, her voice sharp. You built that place. They don't get to steal it. I know a lawyer who can help. Lindsay gave me the contact for Susan Hayes, a real estate attorney in Tucson, with a reputation for being tough but fair. I met Susan the next day at her office downtown. Susan Hayes was in her late 40s, sharp-eyed with a no-nonsense vibe that put me at ease. I explained everything: the family dinner, my father's announcement, Brittany's text, and now their unauthorized entry. I showed her my property deed, mortgage papers, and receipts for the $70,000 in renovations. Susan leaned back, scanning the documents. Angela, this is clear cut, she said. You own this apartment outright. No one, not your father, not your sister, can claim it without your consent. Their entry without permission is trespassing. We can send a cease and desist letter to your family demanding the key back and barring further access. If they push, we can escalate to a restraining order. Her confidence was a lifeline. Do it, I said. I want them to know I'm not backing down. Susan drafted the letter that afternoon, addressing it to my sister, her fiance, my father, and my mother. It outlined my legal ownership, cited the trespassing incident, and demanded the return of the spare key within 48 hours. It also warned of potential legal action if they attempted to access my apartment again. Susan's assistant notarized the letter, and we sent certified copies to each of them. I felt a surge of control for the first time since that dinner, like I was finally fighting back. When I told Lindsay about the letter, she cheered. That's my girl, she said. They thought you'd just roll over, but you're showing them who's boss. Sean came over that evening, bringing takeout to keep me grounded. You're doing the right thing, he said, squeezing my hand. They can't bully you out of your own home. Their support fueled me, but I couldn't shake the sting of betrayal. My mother, who I'd trusted with that key, had handed it to Brittany without a second thought. My sister and Kyle had walked into my space, measuring my life like it was theirs to take. 2 days later, my phone buzzed with a voicemail from my mother. Angela, this lawyer nonsense is ridiculous, she said, her voice tight. We're family. Why are you making this so difficult? Then Brittany texted a letter. Really, just give us the apartment, it's not a big deal. I didn't respond. Instead, I checked my security app linked to the smart camera I'd installed above my door after the renovations. Sure enough, footage from yesterday showed Brittany and Kyle at my door again, trying the key, which I'd already had the locks changed for thanks to Sean's suggestion. They stood there frustrated before leaving. I called Susan again. They tried to get in again, I said, forwarding the footage. She nodded over the phone. This strengthens your case, Angela. Keep documenting everything. That night, I sat in my living room staring at the space I'd built: custom bookshelves, smart lights, the patio I'd poured my heart into. The violation of my home, my family's entitlement, had pushed me past hurt into action. They'd underestimated me, but I was just getting started. The cease and desist letter had been sent. The locks on my apartment changed, and my security camera now watched my door like a hawk. But Brittany's text, a letter, really just give us the apartment, still burned in my mind. She and Kyle thought they could push me out of my own home, the one I'd built with $70,000 of my sweat and savings. Their entitlement, backed by my parents' dismissal, lit a fire in me. I wasn't just going to protect my apartment, I was going to make them regret ever crossing me. With Susan, my lawyer Sean, my boyfriend, and Lindsay, my best friend, in my corner, I crafted a plan to take back control and teach my family a lesson they'd never forget. First, I needed leverage. Susan suggested digging into Kyle's real estate dealings, since his job gave him access to property records and a network that might explain their boldness. If he's overstepping professionally, we can use it, she said, her voice calm but strategic. Sean, with his tech skills, offered to help. I can check public databases, see if Kyle's been cutting corners, he said, already pulling out his laptop. Lindsay, always quick to call out nonsense, jumped in. Brittany's been posting about her new place on social media. Let's see what she's saying. I nodded, feeling a surge of confidence. This wasn't just about my apartment anymore. It was about showing them I wasn't invisible. Lindsay scrolled through Brittany's posts, finding photos of my patio captioned, "Our future home vibes." My blood boiled. She was claiming my space publicly, without shame. Sean, meanwhile, found something bigger. Kyle had been advertising properties online, including one suspiciously similar to mine. Same square footage, same Sam Hughes address, listed as coming soon under his agency's name. "He's trying to flip your apartment," Sean said, his jaw tight. "He's acting like it's already theirs." Susan's eyes narrowed when I showed her the listing. "This is fraud," she said. "He's misrepresenting property he doesn't own. We can report this to his agency and the Arizona Real Estate Board." I gave Susan the green light to file a formal complaint against Kyle. She drafted a letter to his agency citing misrepresentation and unethical conduct, attaching screenshots of the listing and my property deed. "This will hit his professional reputation," Susan said. "He'll have to explain himself to his boss and the board." I also asked her to send a second cease and desist to Brittany and Kyle, this time explicitly warning against public claims on my property, with a copy to my parents for good measure. The letter demanded Brittany remove her social media posts and warned of defamation if she continued. Susan sent it certified mail, ensuring they'd feel the weight of it. Next, I wanted to hit closer to home. My parents had enabled this mess, dismissing me at every turn. Lindsay had an idea. "Your mom and dad care about their image, especially in their social circle. What if we expose their favoritism without breaking any laws?" She suggested I host a gathering at my apartment, inviting family, friends, and relatives who'd been at the dinner, including my Aunt Patricia Foster, who'd always been fairer than my parents. The plan was to show off my home, my work, and subtly call out their attempt to take it. Sean backed the idea. "Make it clear it's yours, Angela. Let them see what you've built." I planned the gathering for the next weekend, calling it a housewarming to celebrate my fully renovated apartment. I invited Patricia, a few cousins, and some of my parents' close friends from their Tucson country club. I didn't tell my parents, Brittany or Kyle, knowing they'd hear about it through the grapevine. Lindsay helped me set up string lights on the patio, appetizers on my quartz countertops, and a slideshow of before and after renovation photos projected on my living room wall. The photos showed the outdated space I'd bought, the demolition I'd overseen, and the modern haven I'd created, down to the bamboo floors and smart lighting. The night of the gathering, Patricia arrived first, her eyes wide as she took in the space. "Angela, this is incredible," she said, hugging me. "You did all this yourself?" I nodded, explaining the $70,000 in renovations, the years of saving, the late nights learning to tile. Guests murmured in awe as they toured the apartment, asking about the custom bookshelves and the pergola I'd built. When my parents' friends asked why I was hosting now, I kept my tone light but pointed. I wanted everyone to see my home before anyone tries to claim it's not mine. Patricia's brow furrowed and she pulled me aside. What's going on, Angela? I told her everything: the dinner, the trespassing, the letters. Her face hardened. Your parents have no right. I'll talk to them. Word spread fast. By Monday, my mother called, her voice shaking with anger. Angela, hosting that party was manipulative. You're embarrassing us. I stayed calm. Mom, I just showed my home to our family. If that embarrasses you, maybe you should rethink giving it away. Brittany texted next, furious. You're so petty, Angela. Stop making a scene. I didn't reply, but Susan called with bigger news. Kyle's agency had suspended him pending an investigation into the fraudulent listing. Brittany's posts were down and she'd stopped mentioning my apartment online. The victory felt good, but the tension wasn't over. My father left a voicemail, his tone cold. Angela, we need to talk. This has gone too far. I knew they'd push back harder, but I was ready. With Susan's legal backing, Sean's tech skills, and Lindsay's fierce support, I'd shown them I wasn't the pushover they thought. My apartment was mine, and I'd fight for it no matter what came next. Kyle's suspension from his real estate agency, Brittany's deleted social media posts, and the whispers from my housewarming gathering had shaken my family, but they weren't done. Their entitlement had fueled this mess, and now, with Susan, Sean, Lindsay, and Patricia in my corner, I was ready for the final confrontation. My apartment in Sam Hughes, built with $70,000 of my own money, was mine, and I'd make sure they understood that no compromises. Susan called me a week after the second cease and desist letter. Kyle's agency confirmed his suspension. She said, her voice steady. The Arizona Real Estate Board is reviewing the complaint for unethical conduct. He's in hot water, Angela. Your family might try to negotiate now, but don't budge. I nodded, gripping my phone. What's next? Susan outlined a plan, a formal meeting with my family, mediated by her to present the evidence: my deed renovation receipts, security footage of Brittany and Kyle's trespassing, and demand they drop their claim. We'll do it on neutral ground, she said. A conference room at my office. Bring Sean and Lindsay for support. Lindsay was all in. Let's make them squirm, she said, her eyes gleaming. Sean, ever practical, added, we'll keep it civil, but they need to see you're untouchable. Patricia. My aunt insisted on coming too. Your parents need to hear this from someone they respect, she said. I booked the meeting for the following Tuesday, sending a formal invitation to my father, my mother, Brittany, and Kyle through Susan's office. The letter was clear: attend to discuss the apartment, or we'd escalate to court. The day of the meeting, I walked into Susan's office with my head high, Sean and Lindsay flanking me, Patricia a step behind. The conference room was stark glass walls, a long table, and a projector ready for my evidence. My family arrived late, their faces a mix of frustration and defiance. My father sat stiffly, arms crossed, while my mother's lips were a tight line. Brittany slouched next to Kyle, who looked pale, his usual confidence gone. Susan opened the meeting, her tone professional but firm. We're here to resolve the dispute over Angela's apartment. She has undeniable proof of ownership, and your actions trespassing false claims have legal consequences. I started the projector, showing my property deed time-stamped receipts for $70,000 in renovations, and the security footage of Brittany and Kyle trying my door. This is my home, I said, my voice steady, locking eyes with my father. I bought it, I built it. You don't get to give it away, Dad. My mother shifted, her voice sharp. Angela, we were trying to help Brittany start her marriage right. Why are you so selfish? Brittany jumped in, her tone bitter. You're blowing this out of proportion, Angela. It's just an apartment. Just an apartment, I said, my eyes narrowing. Brittany, you broke into my home. Kyle, you tried to list it as yours. This isn't a gift, it's mine. Sean squeezed my hand under the table, a silent reminder to stay calm. Lindsay leaned forward, her voice cutting. You all acted like Angela's work doesn't matter. That's not family, that's theft. Patricia spoke next, her tone calm but heavy. I'm ashamed of you, she said to my parents. Angela earned that home. You've favored Brittany her whole life, but this crosses a line. Kyle tried to interject, his voice shaky. Angela, I didn't mean to overstep. The listing was a mistake. Susan cut him off. A mistake that could cost your license, Kyle. The board doesn't take kindly to fraud. My father finally spoke, his voice low. Angela, we didn't think you'd react like this. We just wanted Brittany settled. I shook my head. Dad, you didn't ask me. You decided for me like always. That ends now. Susan laid out the terms. They'd drop all claims to my apartment, return any keys, and cease public or private assertions that it was theirs. If they refused, we'd file for a restraining order and pursue damages for trespassing and defamation. This is your chance to walk away, she said. My mother's eyes welled up, but she nodded. Brittany scoffed, but Kyle nudged her, whispering something. My father sighed, his shoulders slumping. Fine, Angela. It's yours. We won't push further. I felt a rush of triumph, but it wasn't joy. It was relief mixed with exhaustion. Years of being overlooked had led to this, and their grudging agreement wasn't an apology. As they left, Brittany muttered, "You win, Angela," her voice dripping with resentment. I didn't respond. Back at my apartment, I stood on my patio, the string lights glowing softly. Sean and Lindsay joined me, and Patricia called later, promising to keep my parents in check. I'd won this battle, but the war with my family's favoritism wasn't over. Still, I'd shown them I wasn't invisible, and that was enough for now. Standing in my Sam Hughes apartment, surrounded by the bamboo floors and custom bookshelves I'd built with $70,000 of my own money, I felt a quiet strength. This fight wasn't just about keeping my home, it was about proving I deserved respect. My sister Brittany and her fiance Kyle thought they could take it, backed by my father and mother's favoritism. But with Susan's legal expertise, Sean's unwavering support, Lindsay's fierce loyalty, and Patricia's moral clarity, I stood my ground. They tried to erase my achievements, but I showed them I wasn't invisible. This journey taught me to set boundaries even with family. I learned that love doesn't mean letting people walk over you. It means demanding fairness no matter how hard they push back. Using the law, leaning on true allies, and trusting my worth gave me the power to protect what's mine. My parents and Brittany may never fully understand, but their grudging retreat proved I'd won something bigger than an apartment, my voice. To anyone facing a similar struggle, know this: you don't have to stay silent. Your hard work, your space, your life matter. Stand up, seek help, and don't let guilt dim your resolve. I'm stronger now, living in my home, surrounded by the life I built, not the one others tried to claim. What do you think? Have you ever had to fight for what's rightfully yours? Share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear it. And if this resonated with you, hit that subscribe button to join me for more stories about standing tall.